Okay, I know. I didn't spend this time on the main deck in the last video. I've seen the criticism. So, Bad Wolf Gaming in Hull hosted another event. Not sponsored, just friends of the channel. I dig them. And I placed second this time. So, because I placed twice the number, I did twice as well. And so this deck should be twice as good, right? Wrong. So, let's... I was gonna put the cards on there, Evie. You're not gonna make this easy for me, are you? No, but look at those eyes. How can you resist her? So, for the side deck then, because, you know, it worked well last time. Let's start with that again. Oh, thank you, Evie. We have the Cryptex. No one's managed to resolve this damn thing. Do not recommend. Maybe those are for later in the video. Just stick those in the shirt pocket. Yeah, so Cryptex, can't vouch for it. Absolute pain in the ass to deal with. Magnetic Snuffler, medium useful. Thing is, I didn't really main deck any equipment, so I didn't really manage to sack enough artifacts to get value from it. Like, it's good, just not on this deck. 2 copies of Thinking Cap. Useful to have detectives. Perimeter Enforcer. Honestly, I'm not sure if I should have run this one. You know, I didn't have a ton of creatures in the deck, but at the same time, I don't know. It seems super worth it without enough detectives, you know? Griffnaut Tracker, again. Not enough detectives on the go. How's the Vigilante? Another one where, like, feels too circumstantial. Leaning Relic Water. Again, could have worked. Didn't. Never really cited that in. Same goes for Case of the Pilfered Proof. Which, you know, it can work, but again, when I cited it in, it didn't really do anything for me. Crawlwork Cracker. Same problem, unfortunately. A Charter Deadly Fugitive. I tried her at one point. I was up against a Mardu deck at that point. So I figured I'd side her and counterplay some of the... because I had that Karlov Watchdog that prevents stuff from being turned face up. So I figured, okay, we'll side with those counterplay against that. And immediately hit removal. Never really did a damn thing. That's the problem. It's too easy to get rid of. And on top of that, I didn't have enough assassins on the go. So, Breakout, another one. It can work. It didn't work, but it can. Course Kill is another one that I feel like, I don't know, I just wasn't sideboarding right at this event. You know, Course Kill I just didn't get anything out of. Same goes for Rough Burst Hellion. I mean, I sided in against Flyers, and now I seem to draw into it. No More Lies. Same issue, you know. I never quite seemed to be a good opportunity to play it this time. Curious Cadaver. I mean, yeah, it's another hit for the detectives, but I never seem to get value out of it. You know, same goes for Dogwalker. And funnily enough, Underground Crocodile, I tried both, never really got anything out of them. Prosthetic Memory. It's another card that can work, but there wasn't really enough draw in the main deck or the side deck to warrant running it. Behind the Mask. It can be good removal, but the problem is, I never quite seemed to have enough in my graveyard to exile for it. You know, Out Cold, another one that could have worked, but never seemed to for me. Sudden Setback. Yeah, this always seemed to get countered when I played it. And that's the problem where the counter spells are relatively cheap in this format. Even if there is mostly just No More Lies, and sudden setback is expensive enough to be difficult to use. Curious inquiry. Another one I didn't get a ton of use out of. Dramatic accusation. Firstly, love the artwork on this one. All the showcases on this set are fucking gorgeous. Right? Yeah, I was occasionally tap something down with it. But as often as not, the really good stuff was the cards that didn't need to tap. You know, it was creatures with static abilities where tapping them doesn't really help a great deal. 2 copies of Projector Inspector. I don't know if I was just unlucky with this. You know, I never seemed to hit enough detectives to get value from it. Unauthorized Exit, never really got a ton of use out of either. I mean, I don't know. I was just off my game this event, maybe. Side deck did kind of let me down, though. Bubble Smuggler, same thing. I never quite managed to cast it disguised. Crime Stopper Sprite, as much as it's useful to have flyers like Crime Stopper Sprite and Case Cracker, I don't know, you know, it just didn't, it's never quite seemed to work for me. Basilica Stalker. I nearly slide this in, like, it's, don't get me wrong, it's decent, but it's expensive. Undersea Eliminator, again, never really got a ton of value out of. So, Shock, Felonious Rage, and Galvanize all control similar-ish roles. I mean, Galvanize and Shocky are basic pings, but they're quite, everything seems to be just barely big enough to avoid them, which was unlucky as all hell. Felonious Rage, usually if I was able to Felonious Rage something, they would respond by hitting it with removal that wouldn't proc the detective thing. Case of the Crimson Pulse and Suspicious Detonation, again, I never had... That's the problem. I was at an awkward point with card draw with this deck, where Case of the Crimson Pulse got pretty much no value, because I always had 1 or 2, but never quite few... It would never quite few enough to trigger it and to solve it. Suspicious Detonation. As much as pinging something for 4 was useful, I just wasn't, again, luck was not on my side. Same goes the crime novelist. I never really managed to get a ton of value out of him, although I will point out, firstly, he's a goblin, and secondly, Fibblethip. Oh boy. Anyway. Innocent Bystander. I pulled 2 copies, but never really found a good use for him, you know? I mean, he's a creature that floats into a clue under the right circumstances, which feels too circumstantial to be useful, given the main deck. So Offender at Large is... It's another one that I never really got value out of, especially for the disguise cost. Yeah, I mean... Although I do like the idea it's Offender at Large and it's a giant. It's a fun card, but not one that... It didn't work for me. I feel like my last side deck was significantly better than this for some reason. Anyway, Lamplight Phoenix. You know, it's a Phoenix, it can recur, but it needs more in the graveyard than I really had to do that. Frantic Scapegoat, 10 out of 10, no notes. Sided it in once or twice, got extremely good value out of it. There is never a reason not to run Frantic Scapegoat if your deck has red mana. Demand Answers. Yeah, it's card dropped again. That worked against the Case of the Crimson Pulse. Maybe I shouldn't have been running both, you know? Person of Interest. I mean, it's a dude that also creates a token and gets Menace. It's... Honestly, it's kind of a fun one, conceptually. I do like this card, but I never got much use out of it. Bite Down on Crime. Same issue, really. I never really managed to use it well. They went this way, and they went this way. And really the rope as well. Whenever I side these in, I never seem to draw into them, even though I had 2 copies of this. Was just unlucky. Yeah, the rope. don't get me wrong, right? I love the rope. I like that we have the Cluedo weapons in this, because, yes, we're in the UK, we call it Cluedo. I remember having an extended argument with some friends once about whether or not the rope would be an effective murder weapon, on the grounds that it's hard to kill someone with. But, like, that may be, but it's easy to dispose of. Once you kill someone, it's a rope. And sure enough, you can sack it to draw a card. Yeah, it's genuinely decent in this deck. And if you're able to combo this with anything suspected, anything with menace, then you got an unblockable creature in your hands. It's extremely useful. But I never quite seem to have menace at the right time to get away with that. Loxodon Eavesdropper and Glintweaver. Eavesdropper is decent, but at the same time, I wasn't getting enough card draw to get value out of it. Same really goes for Glintweaver. It's good, but it's expensive, and usually games weren't going on long enough for me to have that much mana to throw around. Vengeful Creeper. It's another one. It's useful to be able to pop an enchantment, especially in a format that has makeshift binding, which I should have side decked, I know. But at the same time, it's what, 6, 7, 8, 9 mana for a 5/5 and to pop something? It just isn't useful enough to warrant that. Aftermath Analyst. The mill is useful enough, I guess, but is what it is. I feel like there's potential for a decent Golgari deck in this format, using stuff like this and the Leech that mills 2 when it damages a player. VC Gazi Inspector. I sided it in, but never really got value out of it again. Finally, Tunnel Tipster. I only sided this in once, and it won me the game. Cannot recommend this card enough. Extremely good. Plus, just look at the little guy. Anyway, for good measure, just for some mana generation, I sided in 1 full cycle of lands and an additional mountain. So, for the main deck, the main event, I know, something that I should have covered in more detail last time. So, I ran 8 plains and, as you can probably guess from the thumbnail, 8 swamps, this being an Orzhov deck. However, for the rest of the... However, hang on. No. I'll get there, hold on. However, for the rest of the deck, if you pull it, you can use it. That's how it goes in this format. And, like, I don't know, I had some issues with the pre-release boosters, because, you know, or I say pre-release event, you get 6 sealed boosters, but not all of them were sealed. Like, the boxes themselves were, so it was clearly untampered with, but several people had packs that had opened, and for whatever reason, the rest of the cards in my deck were all whatever this is. Which at the same time, like, you know, running 24 copies of the same card is theoretically very strong. Especially when your opponents don't know what it does, and they can't turn it. At the same time, it means it doesn't really interact with any mechanics, and I was kind of playing solitaire until I side-decked. But at the same time, and as solitaire goes with this, there are worse ways to play. Granted, there are also better ways to play. There aren't quite enough cards in this deck without lands for the full set, but you know, I had the land on there as well. And if you factor in the lands, they're enough for the rest of the solitaire board and the rest of the deck up here. Was it perfect? No. But it worked. Well, I say it worked. I got second. I lost to, I believe, another Mardu deck. Which, yeah, Mardu turns out pretty good in this format. Like, it's comprised of effectively 3 colour pairs that all combo pretty well and have some good stuff going on in them. I mean, already in Mardu you got Taser Karlov and Aurelia. and Rakdos. You know, what more do you want? Your boy Rakdos. You got him. Anyway. Yeah. So, I placed second in this event, twice which was double the number and therefore double the good as last time. And as a reward, I claimed this little keychain of Kaya, one of my favourite, who is, out of the Planeswalkers available in this selection, easily my favourite. Because I want to smash you Alter version of her in Orzhov Spirits deck and create 52 spirits in the game of Commander by exiling everyone else's graveyard, because no one thought to check what her ult did until I popped it. I still lost, but it was very funny to be able to resolve that. And because I did both the pre-release events. Yeah. This thing, bigger and nicer than I expected. You know, it's fancy. I also claimed a... Actually, it should be... No, it'll be somewhere. A copy of Dovin's Veto. A blue-white counter-target spell, which, yeah, I've got a couple of decks I can slot that into easy enough. So, I have a game of Solitaire to resolve. But until then, I'll see you all next time.